Price gouging is the practice of charging customers too high a price for goods or services, especially when demand is high and supplies are limited. It is illegal in most states during a disaster or state of emergency. Price gouging usually occurs after a demand or supply shock, and commonly applies to price increases of basic necessities after natural disasters. Price gouging affects consumers and airlines in different ways. For consumers, price gouging can make it difficult or impossible to afford essential goods or services, such as food, water, medicine, transportation, etc. Price gouging can also create a sense of injustice and resentment among consumers who feel exploited by unscrupulous sellers. Price gouging can erode consumer trust and loyalty in the long term. For airlines, price gouging can have both positive and negative effects. On the positive side, price gouging can increase the revenue and profit margin of airlines that are able to charge higher prices for their flights. Price gouging can also help airlines recover some of the losses caused by reduced demand or increased costs due to external factors, such as weather, fuel prices, security measures, etc. Price gouging can also create a perception of scarcity and urgency among consumers, which can stimulate demand and sales. On the negative side, price gouging can also damage the reputation and image of airlines that engage in this practice. Price gouging can attract negative publicity and criticism from the media, regulators, consumers, and competitors. Price gouging can also expose airlines to legal risks and penalties if they violate anti-price gouging laws or regulations. Price gouging can also alienate and anger existing and potential customers who may switch to other airlines or modes of transportation that offer lower prices or better value. In this section, we will provide evidence of how WestJet does or does not engage in price gouging, such as comparing fares, fees, taxes, and surcharges with other airlines or industry standards. Price gouging is the practice of charging excessively high prices for goods or services that are in high demand or short supply. It is often considered unethical or illegal, especially during times of crisis or emergency. One example of alleged price gouging by WestJet occurred in 2019, when the airline started charging baggage fees in U.S. for return flights from the U.S. Latin America and the Caribbean. Many passengers were outraged when they discovered that WestJet raised its first checked bag fee from $25 to $30, which amounts to about $40 when charged in U.S. currency. The additional increase was seen as a cash grab by some customers who claimed it was unfair and deceptive. Another example of possible price gouging by WestJet happened in 2021. When the airline faced a potential strike by its pilots over contract negotiations. Many travelers who wanted to fly with WestJet during the May long weekend were concerned about their flights being canceled or delayed due to the strike. Some of them tried to look for alternative options with other airlines, but found that the prices were inflated. For instance, one traveler said that Air Canada was charging $1,500 for a one-way ticket from Puerto Vallarta to Vancouver, when his original flight with WestJet was only $600 return. He felt that it was really unfair for Canadian consumers, especially for those who had to come home. A third example of potential price gouging by WestJet occurred in 2021, when the airline faced a surge in demand due to the closure of major highways in B. Following severe flooding. Many British Columbians who wanted to see their loved ones for the holidays had fewer options to drive, so they turned to flying as an alternative. However, they found that the prices were very high. For example, flying from Vancouver to Kamloops on deck 21 and returning on deck 28 was on sale for $1,144 on Air Canada and $1,298 on WestJet. That includes a stop in Calgary. Those prices were much higher than usual for such a short distance. These examples suggest that WestJet may have engaged in price gouging at different times and for different reasons. However, there may be other factors that explain why WestJet charges higher prices than other airlines or industry standards. For instance, WestJet may have higher operating costs, lower profit margins, or different pricing strategies than its competitors. WestJet may also have limited capacity to meet the demand or face external challenges such as weather conditions, fuel prices, or government regulations. To determine whether WestJet is truly engaging in price gouging or not, we need to compare its fares, fees, taxes, and surcharges with those of other airlines or industry standards. We also need to consider the context and circumstances of each situation and how they affect the supply and demand of air travel. According to WestJet's website, the airline charges different baggage fees depending on the country you depart from. For example, guests departing from Canada pay $30-35.40 CAD for prepaid or $40-47.20 CAD for check-in for their first bag and $50-59 CAD for prepaid or $60-71 CAD for check-in for their second bag. Guests departing from the EU, Latin America and the Caribbean pay $30 for prepaid or check-in for their first bag and $50 for prepaid or check-in for their second bag. To compare these fees with other airlines or industry standards, we need to look at similar routes and destinations. For example, if we compare WestJet's fees with Air Canada's fees for flights between Vancouver and Toronto on Jan. 15 and returning on Jan. 22, we find that both airlines charge $30 Canadian for prepaid or check-in for their first bag and $50 Canadian for prepaid or check-in for their second bag. This suggests that WestJet's fees are not significantly higher than Air Canada's fees or industry standards for domestic flights within Canada. However, if we compare WestJet's fees with Air Canada's fees for flights between Vancouver and Los Angeles on Jan. 15 and returning on Jan. 22, we find that WestJet charges $30 for prepaid or check-in for their first bag and $50 for prepaid or check-in for their second bag, while Air Canada charges $25 for prepaid or check-in for their first bag and $35 for prepaid or check-in for their second bag. This suggests that WestJet's fees are higher than Air Canada's fees or industry standards for international flights between Canada and the EU. Therefore, we can conclude that WestJet does not engage in price gouging for domestic flights within Canada, but it may engage in price gouging for international flights between Canada and other countries. This may be due to different market conditions, competitive pressures, or customer preferences that affect WestJet's pricing decisions. In summary, we have provided evidence of how WestJet does or does not engage in price gouging by comparing its fares, fees, taxes, and surcharges with those of other airlines or industry standards. We have also considered the context and circumstances of each situation and how they affect the supply and demand of air travel. We hope this information helps you understand the truth behind the myth of how to avoid price gouging on WestJet flights. Price gouging is a term that refers to the practice of charging excessively high prices for goods or services that are in high demand or short supply. In the context of air travel, price gouging can occur when airlines take advantage of travelers who have limited options due to factors such as natural disasters, strikes, or peak seasons. In this video, we will focus on how to avoid price gouging when booking WestJet flights, one of Canada's largest airlines. WestJet has been accused of price gouging in the past, especially during times of crisis such as the B. floods in 2021 and the potential pilots' strike in 2023. However, there are some tips and tricks that you can use to save money and avoid paying more than you have to for your WestJet flights. Here are some of the tips that we will cover in this section. Use flexible dates. One of the easiest ways to avoid price gouging is to be flexible with your travel dates. If you can avoid traveling on peak days such as weekends, holidays, or special events, you can find lower fares and more availability. You can use WestJet's Low Fare Finder tool on their website to compare prices across different dates and destinations. Search for deals. Another way to avoid price gouging is to look for deals and discounts that WestJet offers on their website or through their partners. For example, you can sign up for WestJet's email newsletter to get notified of special offers and promotions. You can also check out their deals page to find savings on flights, hotels, car rentals, and vacation packages. Use loyalty programs. If you are a frequent flyer with WestJet, you can use their loyalty program, WestJet Rewards, to earn points and redeem them for flights or other benefits. You can also use their co-branded credit cards, such as the WestJet RBC World Elite MasterCard or the WestJet RBC MasterCard, to earn more points and get perks such as free checked bags, companion vouchers, and priority boarding. Contact customer service. If you are facing a situation where your flight is cancelled or affected by a travel advisory due to a strike or a natural disaster, you can contact WestJet's customer service to request a refund or a rebooking. According to their change in cancellation policy, WestJet will waive the applicable fee and allow you to change your travel dates to and or from the same destination without paying a fare difference. However, you may have to wait longer than usual to reach their call center due to high volumes. These are some of the tips that we have for you on how to avoid price gouging when booking WestJet flights. We hope that you found this video helpful and informative. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. Thank you for watching and happy travels.